Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Rich. This is Joseph.
Hi.
You guys have probably seen an interview before. If you haven't, make sure to check out. I'll put the link up in the screen for you guys to take a look at in terms of his ownership experience with some of the other F model cars. On this week's video, my friend here, Joseph, actually ended up getting a brand new vehicle. As you guys can see, it's this gorgeous Acura NSX. Little different shade of yellow, as you guys can see, but I wanted to go over some questions to give you guys an idea of his ownership experience and what's a better midlife crisis car, I guess you could say, in regards to out of these two cars. There's apparently some people that have been cross-shopping the Lexus LC500 and the Acura NSX. So I want to get started right off the bat, guys. How long have you owned each car and what attracted you to purchase each one of these?
Yeah, I've always been a big LC500 fan, and I've had this one for about 3 years now, actually.
Wow, nice.
And I just love the design of it. The interior is amazing, and the sound of it, it's exotic. I think one of the best sounding V8, so
Yeah.
I love the car. Yeah, so so I'm getting closer to 50. I want something different, some more fun. So when I was shopping, the supercars are out of reach, and the maintenance cost is pretty scary. So I was able to find something that's semi-exotic, but still a lot of fun. So the NSX, found one online, went and bought it, and yeah, loving it so far.
Yeah, they're two very different cars. One's a GT car, whereas the other one's a race car.
Yeah.
More or less, or like a sports car per se.
Yeah, absolutely. When I bought the LC, I picked it up from Kansas City, I want to say.
Okay.
Drove it home 9 hours to Dallas. Comfortable, nothing to complain about. My wife was falling asleep in the passenger seat. And then I picked up the NSX from California, drove it back to Orlando.
That's a crazy drive. So I must have given you like a good experience in terms of how it feels to drive in terms of long distances.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the crazy thing is that when you're driving it normally, it feels like a Honda Accord. It's super easy to drive, comfortable. But once the hours started adding up, you get a little more sore. It gets a little more painful. So there's a distinct difference if you're taking it on a long trip.
For sure.
The LC does provide a better experience.
What's been the most rewarding aspect of owning the Lexus LC500 Inspiration Series and the Acura NSX?
The LC, it just, I've mentioned it before how special it is. It's not like nothing else out there.
Yeah.
Just the refinement of it, the materials, and just the driving experience. I love it. But it is more of a tour, so you can't really go too fast around corners. It does have its limitations because of its power and weight.
Yeah.
The NSX, I was very impressed by it. It's definitely people definitely don't give it enough credit.
I agree.
Took it up to the mountains in California, and I was surprised how well it handled. It's got a super rigid chassis, so it handled the corners really well. And the four-wheel drive system gives you so much power that's linear, so it's very predictable.
Given the fact that it is a hybrid system,
Yeah.
and the fact that you're getting such a linear power output from the vehicle, and let's not forget also the torque vectoring on this is actually true torque vectoring, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So it's so extremely predictable, and the chassis matches the power. So when you're driving in the corners, it just so it inspires so much confidence that you want to keep going.
Absolutely. So how would
Yeah.
you say the driving experience is compared between both cars, between the LC500 and the Acura NSX?
The LC, it's a lot of fun when you're just driving around town on freeways. But when you're kind of pushing it towards its limits, that's when you start to feel the weight. The back wants to slide down on you because it's so heavy. The body leans. It's still okay, but it's not a track car.
Yeah, and it's no sports car. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the NSX, it kind of does almost everything well. Around town, slow speeds is fine. Faster corners, it's good. Just not longer trips, I guess.
Right, and probably, in terms of the, how would you say is the ride comfort one versus the other?
Yeah, the LC is definitely more plush.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's so comfortable in there. You want to sleep in there, almost.
You basically answered my next question, which
Yeah.
was which one gives you more sort of driving enjoyment when you're on twisty roads? I would assume it's the NSX.
Yeah, absolutely, and just it's a much lower car with stiffer suspension and
Yeah.
linear power. So in the twisties, I had a lot of fun.
For sure, I
Yeah.
can definitely imagine. So.
Yeah.
I would assume that the NSX probably feels faster to drive and it's got more driving engagement, or would you say that the driving experience, because I know I own an LC myself, so there is a portion of it that is a little bit, I guess you could say, numb. Would you say that the NSX is just as numb, or do you have more sort of connection to the road?
I think the way I put it is that if you want to go fast, the NSX is more fun.
Uh-huh.
But if you want to have fun at legal speeds, the LC does give you that experience.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you compare the interior materials and craftsmanship of the LC and the Acura NSX?
Oh, that one's definitely night and day.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Acura, everything works and all the features are there, but it does feel like almost like a Honda Accord inside.
Yeah.
Whereas the LC has premium materials, the touch buttons, everything is just amazing. So.
And would you? I think if I'm not wrong, like when you compare the LC to the NSX, I think the LC has less shared components to other Lexus vehicles as opposed to the Acura NSX, where it has more shared components in terms of like the buttons and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, like you mentioned. Yeah, LCs, everything's different and refreshing.
Right.
And the design cues, the materials, the buttons. Then when you push the buttons, it feels nice and solid, and all of them feel the same. Whereas the Acura, it's a Honda product, so
Right.
it works, but it is a step down.
So at the end of the day, they put more emphasis on the driving dynamics and the performance on the NSX than they did on the LC. Whereas the LC is more of, like we know, it's a GT car.
Yeah.
So they've basically put more focus on an all-around vehicle where they put some focus on the dynamics, but also especially on the interior build and fit and finish.
Yeah, they designed a sports cars for Lexus owners.
Yeah.
So they did give the Lexus owners the kind of the key
Attributes.
Yeah, that they want. So I think they did a good job on both. Yeah.
So which car do you think has better build quality and why? I would probably assume the LC.
Yeah, the LC. I mean, it's built in that same plant as the LFA.
Yeah.
So
Motomachi plant, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, definitely the craftsmanship is impressive.
Yeah, I probably would have to agree with you because, guys, if you haven't seen it before, I've already reviewed the Acura NSX. I do have a bit of experience with it as well. I definitely have to agree with Joseph on this one as well. Now, in terms of comfort and practicality, which one would you say is more comfortable for daily driving or even long trips?
Yeah, the LC is definitely the one that makes more sense. Yes, it has back seats and a bigger trunk, and then around town it's comfortable.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, the NSX around town, it feels fine. It's not like a supercar that's super jerky or you can't drive slow. It's still very smooth. So around town, probably the LC does make more sense, but the NSX, it could still be done.
Right, which I can imagine. It's not a full-blown stiff sports car where it makes it very uncomfortable to drive. So how would you say the seats, ride quality, and overall usability compared with one another?
Yeah, the LC is much more versatile. Surprisingly, on the NSX, the seats, it doesn't go up and down.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you could slide it forward and back. You could tilt the seat back, but you can't raise the seat or lower the seat. Yeah,
I don't remember that, but
yeah, it's kind of surprising. But,
okay.
But
yeah, well, that kind of makes it a little bit less, I guess, like you said, versatile.
Yeah.
In that aspect. Which one would you say out of these two do you think attracts more attention and receives more compliments?
If you asked me that before I bought the car, I would think the LC would. But just because of how low it is, how kind of supercar-ish it is, the NSX has been getting a ton of attention. Just pulling out of car and coffee this morning, I was driving slow in electric mode, and people were turning around their heads, going, "What's going on?"
Really?
Yeah, it's quite funny actually.
So you didn't even grab their attention out of the sound, but more the looks, the aesthetics.
They do hear the electric sound,
yeah.
But then when they turn around, they're wondering what kind of car is driving by, which is pretty funny.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Look, it's not surprising that the NSX grabs that much attention, but I mean, compared to LC does grab quite a bit of attention. So
yeah,
you'd say what the NSX grabs more attention?
Yes, I would say so.
Cool. What are your favorite design elements of each car, inside and out?
Inside and out, I love kind of the interior design of the LC, the Alcantara door cards, the seats, the grab handle, which is super cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so everything is kind of very cohesive and high-end material, so I love the interior of the LC.
Yeah.
The NSX, I mean, it works. I don't think people buy the NSX for the interior.
Right.
But it's still functional. If anything, the dash is a little lower, so you get awesome visibility, which is definitely plus for a car like this.
Right.
But yeah, it's nothing to write home about, but everything works.
And from an exterior perspective, which one would you like? What would you say is like some design components that you'd say are favorites of yours on each one?
Yeah, that's a hard one. LC, I've always loved the spindle grille.
Yeah.
I kind of like the design of it, and kind of the wide hips is what I like a lot the most. Then NSX is kind of it almost looks like a supercar that you can drive all the time. So it does have a more exotic feel to it, look to it. And I love the little carbon spoiler in the back.
I personally, I mean, on the NSX, I definitely love the venting that is on the rear haunches.
Yeah.
That goes into the engine bay itself. Like you said, it definitely gives it a more exotic look.
Yeah, and it'll pass through behind the window there.
It's got flying buttress.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, so that little element's pretty nice too. So it's got some, supercar-ish elements that makes it more fun looking. So.
I think if I'm not wrong, another vehicle that contains a flying buttress, Ford GT.
Yeah, I think so.
The Ford GT, the new one actually has a flying buttress. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, definitely. That's you don't tend to really notice that right away until you sort of start looking around the car. Good point. By the way.
So it kind of depends on what you like. If you're one that likes to cruise around and have it being a classy car for your midlife crisis, the LC500 kind of works for you.
Yeah.
But if you want to kind of just drive around like a little kid, have some fun, maybe the NSX would be the better choice.
For sure. So which out of the two, how would you compare like the technology and infotainment systems between both cars?
One good part about the NSX is that it does have Android Auto and CarPlay. So it has both. The LC, because this is a 2019, it has CarPlay but not Android Auto. So
right. Yeah.
Depends on what kind of phone you use. The NSX could be better in that sense.
Wired?
It is wired, but you could just get a dongle and it works flawlessly, which is nice.
For those of you that don't know, and sorry to interrupt you, Joseph, for those of you that don't know, the LC did actually start integrating the Android Auto. I believe it was in 2021.
Yeah, actually I thought about upgrading, but I kind of just love the color combination.
I don't blame you,
man.
So I don't blame you.
Just have to live without Android Auto, I guess.
For sure. Which car would you say has more user-friendly and innovative features? Like when you first get in, which one's easier to actually just start getting used to?
Yeah, definitely the LC.
Really?
Yeah, easier to get in and out of, comfortable.
Even given the fact that a lot of people complain about the touchpad on the LC?
Because I would think with those settings, a lot of those settings, you set it once, you don't really change it again.
True.
Yeah, so you kind of get over that initial frustration, but it's really not that bad. Just ingress and coming out of the NSX, you're kind of climbing in and out, which can be a little tiring.
Yeah, especially if you're going through that midlife crisis. Yeah, you're getting old, joints are hurting.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be rolling out of your car looking like a fool almost.
So I know you just got the NSX, but from a maintenance perspective, you probably don't have as much experience with the NSX. How would you say the maintenance experience and the costs have been on both cars?
Yeah, I did kind of look up some YouTube videos on how to do an oil change because I do my own. And there's 7 drain bolts on the NSX.
7?
Yeah.
7?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then kind of checking the oil level, it makes you warm it up first, go through the computer to check the level. Well, actually, make sure it's warm enough, and then you have to, it's a huge kind of complicated process.
Right.
Whereas the LC, 1 drain bolt, 1 oil filter, you do an oil change like a Camry. So
yeah,
from a maintenance perspective, I definitely see the NSX costing a lot more for that.
Well, probably if you have 7 drain bolts and you have all that sort of complicated process to get to an oil change, the dealership would probably charge you quite a bit for that.
Yeah, and also I checked the modifications. Like the LC, the pipe exhaust goes straight through. So if you ever want to change the mid pipe, change the exhaust, it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
The NSX, on the other hand, to change the exhaust, your bumper has to come off. And to change a mid pipe, you need to spend another 6-7 hours taking off the various parts, which is a huge process.
Yeah, for sure.
So for light modifications, the LC would be the more friendly one.
Yeah, I would see that. And then, I think in general, most vehicles are rear midship in regards to the placement of the engine. It's going to be a little bit more complicated from that perspective.
And then that also causes all the maintenance costs to be higher because everything's harder to get to.
More labor. Yeah. More labor intensive. So Have you encountered any reliability issues or concerns on either car so far?
So far, so good. Yeah, I had a door handle issue with my LC, like a lot of other people.
Right.
But fortunately, that was covered under warranty. But no, it's a Toyota product, so the more important stuff, no, there shouldn't be any issues.
And you've had the NSX for a short period of time, so it's hard
Yeah.
for you to actually tell so far.
Yeah, all I've broken so far is the windshield, so hopefully nothing else. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, and apparently the windshield is relatively expensive and very long wait to get apparently. So yeah, let's hope that nothing else pops out on the NSX and makes it very difficult. Kind of related question: which car would you say is more expensive to run or to maintain in general?
Yeah, I would think definitely the NSX.
Right.
Yeah, just an expensive oil change. I think it's about $500 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, because how complicated it is, and I assume all the other services are probably going to be a lot more expensive than the Lexus. So.
Yeah.
But it's still reasonable. It's a lot cheaper than a Porsche. So, yeah, I bet.
True. Do you know if the NSX does it take full synthetic based on manufacturer's recommended suggestions, or
I don't know actually.
Okay.
But I've always used synthetic oils in my cars, whether it's recommended or not. So
Okay.
I would assume.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if any of your NSX owners just would like to know as well. That'd be nice. Which one do you think offers better value for money?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
That's a good.
Yeah. I know I bought this used, so I got a pretty good price on it.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at new car prices, I think the LC, at just over 100 is the much better value.
Right.
Yeah, the driving experience of it, the sound, feel, the materials, you get a lot of bang for your buck.
True.
The NSX, unless you're pushing it all out, you might not feel that value, unless you're going all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, I mean, these are pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them in the secondhand market probably hovering in the 150s, give or take.
Yeah, it's come down a little
140s.
bit, but it's still a little higher, yeah.
Right. And then let's not forget the Type S is even way
Oh,
more
yeah,
expensive.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Type S is what, like closer to 200 now in the
I
second
think the
hand?
market price is about 250.
250.
Actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's hard to justify for 25 extra horsepower and some.
And a few extra aero bits
Yeah.
as well, and
But
suspension.
being limited edition, it is a pretty special car. so.
Understandable, I guess. Understandable. If you could keep one car, which one would it be and why?
Ooh, I've only been a week in ownership, so right now my head wants to say NSX,
Really?
but I think in the long run it would have to be the LC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget you've owned an LC before,
Yeah.
got rid of it, replaced it with a C8,
Yep.
and then you missed the LC so much you came back to it.
Yeah, it's just such a hard car to replace. The feel that you get when you're in the car driving it around. It's just they did an awesome job, and it's definitely a long-term keeper. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out with time how you
Yeah.
feel towards the NSX.
Yeah, let's see what the next midlife crisis car is and which one goes.
So last question, in what specific areas does the LC outperform the NSX and vice versa?
I'm
I'm talking about, just to clarify, outperform both in either, dynamics, driving dynamics, and even like just overall.
Yeah, I think that goes back to how fast you're going. I know if you're just getting within the legal limits, the LC does give you a better experience and a better feel.
Right.
It sounds amazing, the feel of the car, and then but push to the limits. Then that's when the hack goes off to the NSX, and that it is a much more capable car.
So would you say that the LC outperforms the NSX on build quality, fit and finish, and even potentially design, and then of course the heart of the vehicle, which is the engine and that rumble that basically comes out of it, whereas the NSX outperforms it more on the sort of the driving dynamics in general. It's a more sporty drive, better handling, much faster accelerating vehicle. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that sums it up really well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Well, look, thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate your time once again.
Yeah.
I truly hope that you do enjoy the NSX. Now that you've had it for a short period of time, you've had it for what is it now? A couple of weeks?
Yeah.
A week?
About a week.
So that's basically it. And as always, guys, look, if anything, make sure to have any questions in the comments below. If you have anything having to do with the LC or the NSX, I know that these are typically or shouldn't typically be cross-shopped, but if you are, put your questions down in the comments below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this content to anybody that you think might actually find it useful. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.